now that it has been a little bit over 2 weeks since we have Star Wars Visions, now I've decided to make a ranking of all the Star Wars Visions episodes that we have gotten, because we got 9 episodes, and some of them were actually really good and really enjoyable to watch, and some of them were just like I kind of wanted to get it over with. So here we're going to be going over the good, the bad, and then the ones that are just fit in the middle, that were just kind of a neat glide, that were just not excellingly good, but not excellingly bad, just some normal flatline episodes. So that's what we're going to do in this video. So, like I said, there are 9 episodes, so I'm going to rank all of them. Now, if you're wondering how I'm going to rank them, I'm going to rank them from worst to best, because obviously I want you to stay till the entire video, not just tell you the best one. Haha, you see, I have my tactics. But the way I'm going to be ranking them is I'm not just going to be taking my ranking. I took a ranking on IMDb, which... and then I took my ranking. So I rated an episode 6.4, and then IMDb rated it a 9.5. I'm just throwing out numbers right here. I added up the average, and the average is how I'm ranking them on here. So these are combined between my numbers and IMDb's numbers. So that's basically the public. IMDb is updated by the public, so these are not critics at all. These are basically just normal people. So all these episodes are really just the general people that have been watching it. No critics at all, full on normal people. So I'm going to tell you the order that the average said, and then at the end I'm going to tell you how my order compared to their order, because I definitely thought that my order was definitely different than the order of my average and IMDb's average. So let's get right into it. So at number 9, I'm going to have to put my worst episode, and me and IMDb's average both agreed with this. This episode is titled Akakiri. So this is the last episode in Star Wars Visions, the 9th episode, and you know how you kind of want that 9th episode to be the best episode just to end the season, even though these don't follow a particular story, they're mostly just random stuff. But really, that episode was a little bit disappointing. It was kind of a bad way to end Season 1 of Star Wars Visions. So, the reason, if my number, I would rate it a 3.5 on 10, then IMDb gave it a 5.6. So, the average became a 4.5, which, as you can tell, is a really low number. If a movie has made a 4.5 or a show has made a 4.5, then that's basically a fail of a show. So this episode, the reason why I really didn't like it is because I thought the story was a little bit boring and hard to understand, especially at the end, and I just really wasn't a fan of the animation a bit. Some of their heads looked like they were shaped like cantaloupes, in my opinion. I understand that all the Japanese creators have a different animation style, but just this episode really did not stand out, and the story was a bit lacking and hard to understand the story. Like, I couldn't really tell what was going on at the end. Even when I made my episode review, I was a bit clueless. Like, I needed an episode review myself to actually figure out what happened at the end of the episode. So you kind of want the episode to be easy to understand and fun to watch, but that episode was mostly like you want to get it over with. So that's what landed at the number 9 spot on this list. So the next episode is TOB1, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is the 6th episode in this series. So this one already, to me, when I watched the episode, I could definitely tell that this one was one of my least favorite episodes. Not the least favorite episode, but one of the least favorite episodes. I gave it a 5 out of 10, and IMDb gave it a 6.1, which gives an average of 5.5 out of 10, which is probably around what the Rise of Skywalker game, even though I thought that was a great movie. So all in all, if you get a movie that is rated 5.5, you probably kind of failed the movie, but it's not a complete failure like a 4.5 like we had earlier. So the reason why I rated this episode low is because the story was a little bit lacking and kind of boring until the end. And also the animation was not the greatest, I'd have to say, in this episode. The animation style made it look less realistic and more cartoonish. I'm guessing that's what they tried to aim for, but I wasn't really a fan of that kind of animation, and clearly a lot of people weren't also. I even looked at a couple people's rankings just to get an idea, and a lot of people thought this was the worst episode. Which, all in all, it did have a good story in total about a boy who dreams of being a Jedi, but they just kind of took that story and then they didn't quite polish it well with the story, and it was a little bit boring throughout the entire episode. Only the end is when it really got exciting, so that's what got it the number 8 spot. So next we're going to move on to number 7, which is Tatooine Rhapsody. Now Tatooine Rhapsody was the 2nd episode in the series, and this was another episode that a lot of people did not like, and I'll tell you in a second. So number 1, I rated it a 7.1, and IMDb gave it a 5.3, so even I rated it over everybody else, which gave it an average of 6.2 out of 10, which, continuing going on in theory, the thing, 6.2 would be, if you had a movie that was ranked 6.2, that would be a pretty bad movie. If you had a show that was rated a 6.2, like one episode of the show, you could recover for that. But if you had an entire movie that was rated 6.2, that still wouldn't be very good. That means that not many people liked it, but you still had a couple of people who did enjoy the movie. So the reason why Tatooine Rhapsody landed the number 7 spot is because, like, 5 minutes of the entire episode was completely based on a song, because this episode was about a rock band who dreams of getting their big hit. So 5 minutes of this entire episode was just them singing a song, which, as you can tell, is not entertaining. Like, we're not here to watch a rock band movie or something. We're here to watch a Star Wars show. So that's why that kind of lost a couple people's attention. Like, a couple people didn't even bother finishing the episode once they got to their song, because really it's just their song. And then you see Jabba who says that I'm not going to kill you. So that entire end of the episode was wasted, which I understand it had to work with the plot of the episode. They couldn't have done anything else because they're a rock band. So the plot of the episode just made them have to do that. But just all out together, the plot was kind of lacking. I understand it was kind of about how they were trying to rescue their friend and getting stopped by Boba Fett. But the entire episode was pretty much, there was only a little bit of action in the episode, and then the episode was just slow on for the entire end. So that's what landed it the number 7 spot, and I'm actually surprised it didn't even get lower on this list. So the next episode is episode 3, The Twins. So The Twins, in my opinion, was a pretty good episode. That's why I gave it an 8.4, but IMDb gave it a 6.3, which is why it averaged at a 7.3 between both of us. So that's the only reason why I got the number 6 spot on this list. As you can tell, I'm going from number 9 to number 1. So the reason why I got the number 6 spot is because a lot of people thought that it was a little bit over the top on fighting. So one episode they didn't have enough fighting, and now people think this one had way too much fighting, which is, I don't know why people didn't like this one, but I honestly thought it was a pretty good story about 2 twins who were fighting over crystal. I understand that when you have so much fighting, how it kind of gets boring after a while. Like, you want some, like, different fighting, because, like, in an episode, you don't want the entire episode to just be a fight and then it's just them fighting, because that's a little bit boring. You want some action in one part, so you want some slow parts, you want some suspense, instead of just action throughout the entire episode. So a lot of people thought this episode was over the top. Personally, I thought this was a perfect episode, but sadly the average gave us a number 6, and this is not my ranking, this is the combined average. So the next episode is titled La Pinocho, and this gave it the number 5 spot. So La Pinocho is the 7th episode in the series. I ranked it at an 8.6. IMDb gave it a 7.3, which averaged at a 7.9, which is pretty good. If you continue going on the thing of movies, 7.9. If you had a movie that was rated 7.9, it would be a pretty good movie. It would get some good reviews. That would be a pretty good movie, and it would probably make you a lot of money. So the reason why La Pinocho landed at the number 5 spot, pretty high, it's about the halfway point of this list, is because it had a pretty good story about a family who, one half of the family, the sister wants to choose the dark side, the other sister wants to choose the light side, and then the father does not know what to do. The father wants to be on the good team and doesn't like the Empire, but he can't just, like, go on the other side of his own daughter. So they are torn on what to do. Now, this episode I thought was a little bit kind of odd, honestly. The animation was pretty good, but the story was a little bit weird. And you think it would be pretty simple, but really it was mostly just a bunch of fighting. The beginning of the episode had some fighting. The middle of the episode had a bit of slow with her getting the lightsaber, and then the end of the episode was a little bit of fighting. I personally did like the episode, and a couple people did really like this episode, but this just landed kind of like right in the middle. This is one of those episodes that wasn't extremely good and wasn't extremely bad. This was kind of like a borderline perfect episode, which was pretty in the middle right there. So enjoyable to watch, but not my favorite episode is what I have to say about this episode. So, at number 4, we have The Village Bride. So, I gave this episode a 9, which, as you can tell, is pretty high. And then IMDb gave it a 7.6, so it averaged at an 8.3. So, The Village Bride, I actually thought was a really good story about a Jedi who's kind of hiding undercover on a planet with the village bride who is now getting married, but now her village is going to be attacked by the Separatists. So then at the end, the village bride has to fight, not the village bride, the Jedi has to fight the Separatists to help so that the village does not get taken over, and then you kind of see a little bit of a cool thing. Now, the reason why this episode probably got the number 4 is mostly because of how high I rated it. I gave it a 9, even though IMDb gave it a 7.6. So as you can see, this episode didn't have much action, but honestly, I just really liked the story. The animation was pretty good. I also like to see the droids, the Separatist droids, which was a pretty cool callback to the Clone Wars. So that was really cool to see. So the next episode, which I ranked at number 3, is titled The Duel. So personally, I gave it an 8.5 out of 10, and IMDb gave it an 8.5 out of 10, which averaged it at an 8.5 out of 10. So as you can see, me and everybody else clearly agreed that this was a pretty good episode. I wouldn't say the best episode. If I were to rank it, I would have ranked it under The Village Bride, but still, this was a pretty cool episode. So this episode was the first episode in the series and definitely got it off for a good start to the series. Nothing like Akakiri, how it kind of disappointed us. This episode got us off at a good start for the series, which made you want to watch more episodes of this. So The Duel is completely in black and white, which is probably why it lost a little points for me. But it had a good story about a character named the Ronin who comes to a village, but then it gets attacked by a bunch of mercenaries and a Sith. So now he must battle the Sith, and then after that you realize that he himself was a Sith a long time ago, but now he has abandoned the ways of the Sith and now he just keeps his lightsabers for defense. So the plot of this episode was pretty good, and this episode pretty much had full-out action, but this episode was not like too over-the-top like the twins with like force lightning lightsaber slash, just a repeat of everything. They had different things where like at some parts they were going to do a force battle, some parts they were doing some lightsaber dueling, some parts they were hiding, some parts were just shooting. So as you can see, it wasn't just the same thing, it was a bit of different stuff. So now we're going to move on to the number 2 episode, which personally I would have ranked this the best episode in the series. This one is called The Elder, which I gave it a 9.6 on 10. And if you had a 9.6 on 10, you would have a really good movie. You would make a lot of money, kind of like Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back was probably rated like a 9.8 or something. And IMDb gave it an 8.1, which I thought IMDb should definitely lift that higher because this episode definitely was my favorite episode. So the average gave it an 8.8. So The Elder is about a Jedi and a Padawan who come to a planet, and then they meet the Elder, the Elder is an evil Sith they thought that the Sith were gone, but now they figure out that the Elder is one of the last remaining Sith. So the Padawan then fights the Sith, but then it loses. So then the Master comes in and it kills the Elder, and then that's basically the end of the episode. So I thought this episode was really good. The animation was really good, and I really enjoyed seeing a good old-fashioned lightsaber duel, the light side versus the dark side. Not like two dark sides against each other. Not this, not that. This was a good old-fashioned Master and Padawan versus a Sith, which had a lot of remnants to Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. They even had one blue and one green lightsaber. So this was clearly reminiscent to the Phantom Menace, and it even took place around the Phantom Menace. So this was definitely my favorite episode. I will say no more about this episode. This is just pure perfection, this episode. And this is if we had a season 2 of this, these would be the more of the episodes that I want to see. These are the kind of episodes that I like to see. This episode was almost close to canon because it pretty much had mostly a lot of these story aspects were pretty much canon, but it's not. But this is definitely one of the things that you want to see. So the last episode is titled, the number 1 episode, the best episode, is titled The Ninth Jedi, which I gave it a 9.4 and IMDb gave it an 8.7. So I don't know why IMDb gave it an 8.7. It definitely deserves more, and everybody thought this was the best episode. Personally, I didn't think it was the best episode, but it was pretty good. And then it averaged a 9. So that would tell you that this is clearly the best episode out of these Star Wars visions. So The Ninth Jedi is about a group of Jedi get gathered together by a mysterious person, and that mysterious person is going to give them a lightsaber, which is a bit suspicious. Like, why do you come to somebody's house and then they don't greet you, but they just send a hologram saying, I'm going to give you a lightsaber? That's a little bit suspicious, and you're going to see at the end. So then the daughter of a lightsaber smith delivers the lightsabers, but then you realize that half of the Jedi there were secretly Sith, which was a pretty cool plot twist, almost like how Vader was Luke's father. So then you got a nice battle at the end, and this was the longest episode, which probably was one of the reasons why I got one of the higher rankings on this list. So then at the end, the girl then is going to come with them to rescue her father, who has been taken by some Sith hunters. So as you can tell, this was definitely one of the best episodes. I wouldn't say the best episode, but this was definitely one of the greatest episodes in the series. And this is also one of these episodes that could nearly be canon. You just need a couple aspects fixed the story, but this is basically a canon story, which, like I said, for The Elder is more of these stories that we want to see. So that is basically my 9 episodes ranked using an average between me and IMDb. Now, like I said at the beginning of the video, I am going to list my list of stuff that I would have ranked it at, so let me just do that right now. So I would have given Akakiri a 3.5 at the bottom, then Chiyobi-1 with a 5, Tatooine Rhapsody with a 7.1, The Twins with an 8.4, The Duel with an 8.5, La Pinocho with an 8.6, The Village Bride with a 9, The Not Jedi 9.4, and The Elder 9.6. But that's just my list. The rest of the video that I just did, that was the average between the list. So this is my Star Wars Visions episode review. And overall in the series, I definitely would give this series, if I had to rank it, I would give it a 7.9, I think. So 7.9, that's a pretty good, that's a success for Disney. So this would definitely probably get another season, and I'm going to be making a whole video on if this video could be getting another season, which is probably going to be coming soon. So if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and bye.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
So be it, Jedi. Huh?